Chris here with a phone that a lot of you have been asking for and requesting that I review this. It's the Realme 6, of course, a phone that now sets the standard for budget phones in terms of the specs we're getting for the price point. So this is selling in Europe for 219 euros, and it's got a 90 Hertz screen in it. That's right, 90 Hertz refresh rate in a budget phone. It also has a 64 megapixel camera. It's got NFC, I believe it has band 20 as well, the European model, and 30-watt fast charging. That's really a huge amount packed into this for such a low price point. So I bought the 4GB version with 64 gigabytes of UFS 2.1 storage. Why? Because it's 219 euros, a very similar price to the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S. So in the box here, we do have a quick start guide, a SIM tray tool. Our charge is 30 watts. Now it will take just 54 minutes to fully charge this. They claim 55, so I'm only a minute off. That was when the phone was completely flat too, by the way. And we've got a TPU case here. So you can see this TPU case does have a raised lip around where the camera module is. So it is offering a bit of protection there. All the buttons are covered, and it's good to have this inside the box. So this phone has a SIM tray that will house 2 nano SIMs, 4G of course, and a micro SD card, so you don't have to give up on one of those SIMs. It does have metal reinforcement around the SIM tray, which is great, so it's not going to be prone to bending or breaking. And they say it has a splash resistance, this phone, yet there is no rubber gasket around the SIM tray, which is interesting. So this phone's got a 6.5-inch screen, so it's a little smaller than others I've looked at this similar kind of price group. For example, the Note 9S that I will be constantly comparing this one to, because they're very similar phones. The back is made out of plastic, however, though, okay? So this looks like it could be glass, but no, when you touch it and press it in, it feels a lot thinner than glass. This is a good thing and a bad thing, because if you drop it, it won't crack. However, it just doesn't feel as premium. The frame as well is made out of plastic. So for cameras on the back, we've got a 64 megapixel Samsung GW1, then we've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel camera for depth, and another 2 megapixel for macro shots. Now I don't even know why they bother, but a 2 megapixel macro camera, at least make it 5 megapixels, or even just not bother and give us a slightly better megapixel count for that ultra wide camera, which more people would probably use than macros. Now the camera on this does stick out, as you can see. It protrudes by about 2 millimeters, and the total thickness is, in my measurements, 9 millimeters. On the right hand side, we've got a fingerprint reader. That's one of those always on capacitive ones. You can see when I touch it, it unlocks that quick. It's very fast. I'll do that one more time for you. So that's under a second. So let's have a look at the face unlocking performance. So I'm going to look at it, tap, and it unlocks. It does have raise to wake as well. So our top bezel isn't super slim, but it's not actually that bad considering the price of this phone. You can see with the screen protector that does come pre-applied from the factory, there's a little cutout right here. That is for the ambient light sensor and proximity sensor. There is no status LED in this. Now the cutout for our camera, it's a 16 megapixel front-facing camera. You can see is visible there as well, and the screen protector doesn't go over that. The earpiece you can just make out here is that thin little slit. The earpiece quality sounds fine, just like any other phone. Now spot something unusual here with the top of this phone. There's no secondary microphone hole that's normally here, and no, we don't have an IR transmitter either. Then down the bottom, we do at least have a 3.5mm headphone jack, Type-C port microphone, and our loudspeaker. So the main attraction of this phone is the 90 Hz 6.5-inch IPS panel that's in this. Now it's got a gamma that you can see here that is about 2.0, and the maximum brightness that I've measured is very close to 450 nits, which isn't too bad. Now you can see right here, this is the phone in direct sunlight. It's not super clear, but you can still make out what is on the screen. That's the main thing, and I had no issues going around reading, for example, a text message is possible, and it does have that screen protector on there, so if you remove it, then it might actually be a fraction better. Now, if you are looking at a solid color, for example, white, where it's most obvious, you can see some of that shadowing around the cutout. It's hard to see, it depends on the angle, but it's not actually too bad on the unit I have here. So if I hold it at a severe angle right here, you can probably just make out a little bit of that shadowing around the notch, but you won't really notice this So some big changes here from Realme. It's no longer Color OS. This is Realme UI version 1, and it is running at 90 Hertz here. I have forced that with the display settings, which I will quickly show you. So we'll jump into that. And I'm not going to cut this and edit this so you can see just how quick and smooth all of this is, the process. So I force a screen refresh rate to 90. By default, it's actually the auto select mode. So we'll just decide. So if you're in a game, it'll go, okay, the game supports 90, so let's run it at 90. But I like to have everything just forced here just to make it real fast. So the color balance, I noticed there was a little bit off with the screen out of the box. This is just my own personal preference, of course, here, but I tweaked it up a little bit warmer. To me, that looks a bit better. But you have got all those settings in there, your typical settings. Now, eye care mode, removing the blue light. Dark mode is also there. And there are really a lot of things within this. And it's quite similar to stock Android, just with extra settings. And I can see because of the performance of this, very, very smooth. It's amazingly smooth. For the price of this phone, you're getting now flagship level smoothness, 90 Hertz, and it does seem really well optimized to me. Now, with the UI, you can set with the skin. You don't have to have the drawer mode here. Okay, that's their smart assistant. So if I pinch like this, we'll go into settings. I just wanted to point out home screen layout options. You do have the drawer mode, which I'm currently using. So that's apps drawer, and you can set it to the standard mode, which is like MIUI then. So you've got your widgets and your apps there all in one. It depends on what you prefer. Double tap to unlock, that's already there. Tap to lock to as well. And lots of tweaking and settings, but it's really the optimization of this. I'm not seeing any stutters or lag or anything like that. And it's just going to show you that the optimization, the experience from Oxygen OS and OnePlus, of course, which is a sister company to this one, Realme, is definitely coming through, and I'm seeing it in the ROM, that just how smooth and fluid this is. It really kind of just blows me away for a €219 phone for it to be that smooth and have that feature. So we'll jump in here to a little bit of the performance, but wanted to point out here that when you first get it, 51 gigabytes will be available to you on the inboard storage. You can expand upon that, of course. So Android 10, Realme UI 1, and it does have Widevine level 1 cert, which is great. And we do have camera to API level 3 support. So look for Google ports later on, or there probably are some new ones out there now that'll work with the new camera sensor. UFS 2 storage in this, and okay, good random reads and writes. This is not going to be slowing down that chip here, which is the G90T. Wireless, okay. The speeds are fine. This is wireless 5G, so wireless AC. And yeah, getting 426 downstairs away where I'm testing here at home. It still gets reasonable speeds of 224. So the wireless is fast, but not as fast as the Redmi Note 9S that I recently reviewed. But I'll have a comparison between those two models soon. GPS is excellent. This is almost unseen. You don't normally see this. 1 meter of accuracy. Very good. And look at the signal strength here. Really special there, because you don't normally see that. Normally, it's not going to be in the greens and the 40s, 42. And I can't test because of the lockdown driving in my car with it. But where I was walking around, it seemed to be very accurate, maintain the lock, and no problems there. Doesn't support dual frequency. This is not a flagship phone, so as expected there. And here is our Antutu score. This is version 8.3. Very good. This does better the Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G. Better GPU performance there. That one gets about 50,000. This one's 76. It is a hot chip, however. This one does run quite a bit hotter, but really good performance. And overall, I'm very pleased at the way the UI is running for a budget phone. It is really amazing how smooth it is. Onto the audio quality. So I've noticed that the reception seems to be fine. Signal strength, the call quality as well is good. 3.5mm headphone output. No complaints. It sounds good to me. I don't think it sounds quite as good, however, as the Redmi Note 9S. I think that one's just slightly superior in terms of 3.5mm output here. But the loudspeaker, okay, good loudness. It is loud. It's not real high quality. I would rate it as average, but here's a sample of it. So I hope you could hear from that the loudspeaker quality, it sounds a little bit tinny to me. It's lacking a little bit in mids and bass. Now to gaming performance. So this chip can, yes, play all the latest titles out there. Now, will they support the 90 hertz refresh rate so we can get 90 frames per second? It's all down to developers. So far, the games that I've been testing, they all look to be just running at 60 with this particular chip and this model of screen and, of course, the Realme 6. So when they update that, we could see some games with the 90 support, but I'm not too sure whether they'll actually be able to run it at 90 frames per second solid. Maybe on low settings it would be possible. So wait for updates there from developers. Now in terms of heat generation, there is a little bit of heat being generated from this chip more than others. And okay, it's just a hot chip. Is it affecting the performance? So far, it doesn't seem to be. Now I've gamed for a couple of hours. It doesn't seem to slow down or anything that I can actually see. Now you get the noticeable lag here and there. And even with demanding games like Shadowgun Legends, the performance, I think, is absolutely solid for a €219 phone. So I've gamed now for 45 minutes. So this is Antutu's temperature monitor here. And you can see the battery, that's at 43.2 degrees. So yes, it does feel quite warm to the touch on the back of the phone and the screen as well. And then our CPU is 69.9 degrees. I have seen it get up to 73 degrees. So this was in ColorOS and it's in Realme UI as well, and it's their game space. So it's just a gaming hub here, but we've got a couple of settings that are kind of interesting. So right here, tapping this, you can set to a competition mode. Balance mode is what I just leave it in for everything, and low power mode. So this is going to help boost our frame rate. And we've got other options too here for example, rejecting calls. Just things that help you when you're gaming so you don't have any distractions. And if you swipe here, we've got this anywhere. This actually isn't just for the game space mode, but you've got a screen recording mode there as well. So when I did that, this actual capture now of the cameras, it's using that. So a quick look at the stock camera app here. So if you tap this, you go then to our ultra wide, pretty straightforward. We've got a 2x digital and then 5x digital, which really degrades the quality. Digital zoom is always like that. We've got portrait mode, 64 megapixel mode. I'll give you some samples of that shortly. More, we've got other options as you can see. So let's just go into Pro. So we've got shutter rate, white balance, autofocus, and that's it there with that. And there are various other options that I will not go through here, but there is night mode there as well. But let's have a look now at some samples from the Realme 6. So we have a 16 megapixel sensor here on the front. It can shoot 1080p video, and you'll notice that it does shake around a little bit because yet again another brand with no electronic image stabilization on the front facing camera. Now the crop of this you can see isn't too bad. I'm holding it at normal arm's length, not right out. If I hold it right out, that's about here, and you can see it's doing a reasonable job of exposing my face here directly in sunlight.
maybe a little bit overexposed too. It's a bit hard to see with the screen right here. So we can shoot video with the ultra wide camera, but you can't swap over to them once recording. This is like other manufacturers. It's quite common. And poor quality, as you can see here. It doesn't do very well, this 8 megapixel sensor with video, and of course the ultra wide lens. It just seems so washed out in places. But we'll take a look now at the rear camera with 4K at least. And you can see that it looks a lot sharper, a lot better than that ultra wide camera. However, no electronic image stabilization here with 4K. So you really need a gimbal to get the best, smoothest quality out of the 4K here from that 64 megapixel sensor.
So what did you think of the camera quality? Clearly a lot of work is required there with the low light photography. It's very poor. There's hardly any difference between using the night mode and normal photos, but the normal photos had a lot more noise to them, huge amount of noise. So you want to find a Gcam port to improve low light photography there. Video, no electronic image stabilization with the front facing camera or rear 4K is disappointing. Audio quality, well, in the video, the bit rate's a little bit low. Hopefully they can increase that. Again, a bit of a disappointment there. So firmware updates will be coming out and hopefully address that right there. Now, the performance of this ROM is where it really stands out. Even setting it to 60 Hertz, it's very smooth and fluid, well optimized, and it reminds me of Oxygen OS. But on 90 Hertz, it at times really fools you. It's like you're using a flagship. It is so fast, the UI, going through it, selecting icons, browsing, and even multitasking, swapping between apps isn't too bad. Now, sometimes it will get a little bit slow if you're filling up that memory with a lot of heavy games. Task Manager is quite aggressive, I've noticed. So there's quite a bit of reloading going on here, probably because this is the 4GB version. Now, fast storage. The wireless speeds are fast, but not as fast as other models I have seen. And then when you take a look at GPS, 1 meter of accuracy is something you don't normally see. It seems to work really well, but once this lockdown is over, I need to test it out driving around in my car as well there. So the screen, the brightness is okay. Sunlight legibility seems to be decent. It's not the best I've seen, but certainly not the worst. We've got the dark modes in there, blue screen filter. The lowest brightness setting is about 3 nits of brightness, so it's good to use late at night without burning your eyes out with that, okay? Main camera sensor, again, sorry, not the main camera sensor, but the macro, kind of pointless. The ultra wide seems very average in quality, but we've got 30-watt fast charging on this, which is another positive. And that gets them to the build quality. That's probably where they cut a bit of the corners here. Because of the screen, I think that's why they went with the plastic on the back. So it doesn't have the premium feel as other phones. It's a little bit lighter because of it. And the frame around the outside, at first it might fool you to think, hey, this could actually be metal because it's a very dense plastic, but it's not. It's just the way they've painted it. But overall, I think the build is good. It's not bad for the price. You have to always factor it in. Look at the price of this phone and what you're getting. Fantastic value there. It's just minor little things like that that you notice. And okay, we don't have an IR transmitter. There's no FM radio, but we do have NFC, something that the Redmi Note 9S is missing there too. So I will be doing a comparison, camera comparison against that model, as well as a general comparison. So make sure you do subscribe for those up and coming videos. I hope you enjoyed this long, in-depth review, and I hope that answered most of your questions you had. Now, battery life, I know that is missing. I'm losing about 13% per hour, okay? At the moment at 90 Hertz, I'll have some updated videos with the full battery stats, so 90 Hertz and also 60. So again, subscribe for those. And do give this video a thumbs up if you did like it, and I hope to see you back in the channel soon. Bye for now.